Hey everyone, so yesterday the first update to Sunbreak came out, and with it came a lot of new stuff. New armors, new weapons, new skills, a lot of new things. It can be a bit confusing to know what's good and what is not good for bow, so what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna give you an overview of the new skills and the new armors, and I'm gonna give you my insights on what I think is good and what I think is not as good. So I've been testing all those skills since yesterday to see exactly how they work, but keep in mind that the update is very new. It's not even been a full day yet at the time of this video, so there's still a lot of testing to be done. Also, to be clear, this is not a build video. I'm working on a build video. It's gonna hopefully come out tomorrow or by the end of this week, but today this is just an overview of those skills and explain if they are useful for bow or not so much. Okay, so let's get started, and we're gonna start with the Gold Rathian armor set. So the Gold Rathian armor set has two new skills. The first one is called Defiance, and the second one is called Status Trigger. Defiance is a skill that when you do a perfect evade, it's gonna give you some level of earplugs and flinch free depending on how many points you have of that skill. I don't think it's a very good skill, especially for bow. Feel free to mess with it. It can drop on Curio augments, so you don't have to wear the Gold Rathian armor set to have this skill. You can actually roll it on the Curio augment or have a decoration. Ultimately, I don't think it's a very good skill, but if it comes for free on the Curio augment, feel free to mess with it. Now, the second skill is very interesting though. It's called Status Trigger. And what it does is that after a perfect evade, it's gonna increase your ailment, your status application rate. If you didn't know, for status weapon, you won't inflict status on every hit. It's about a 30% chance to inflict status. So every third hit, you're gonna inflict status, whether it's blast, poison, or paralysis. What this skill does is after a perfect evade, it makes you proc the status 100% of the time. So you go from proccing the status every third hit to every single hit. If you play a status weapon, the boost in application is insane. You go from proccing the status every third hit to every single hit, so it's a huge boost. However, for bow, it does not work on coatings, because coatings by default already apply status on every single arrow, so it's not gonna have any effect. But, and I don't like saying that, but for blast bow, it should be working and inflict blast status on every arrow, so the proc rate of the blast is going to be a lot higher. Now, this is not me saying that blast bow is becoming good at all. I haven't tried it. I'm just saying if you're going to make a blast bow build, this skill is gonna be a must-have. I'm gonna try it later, see how it works. I don't think it's gonna make blast bow becoming good, but I think it's a very interesting skill. So we're gonna move on because I don't think this skill is gonna be used for bow at all. We're gonna talk about the Seedling Basil Goose armor set. Now, this armor set has a skill that's called Guts. It's a new skill to Sunbreak, but it's a skill that was in previous games, so it's a skill that we've seen before in other games. What Guts does is that if you're above a certain amount of health, if you take a hit that's supposed to kill you, it's not gonna kill you. It's gonna leave you at 1 HP. So for bow that tends to be one-shot a lot, these skills can help. Now, the interesting thing about this skill is that it's a very similar effect to the full skill Moxie, which does the same thing, and it stacks with it. Means that if you have Moxie and Guts, you can take 2 hits without dying. Basically, the first hit that's supposed to kill you will proc Moxie, and the second hit that's supposed to kill you will proc Guts. So you can take 2 hits without dying that you were supposed to die to. It's especially good with Moxie if you hit for Moxie level 1, if you put Moxie on the 3rd position, because Moxie at level 1 only has a 50% chance of proccing. So if you take a hit that's supposed to kill you, Moxie will save you half the time. But if it doesn't proc and you have Guts, then Guts will save you and you have another chance at proccing Moxie. So that's a good way to use it. Now for bow, fortunately, the legs are actually pretty good. It has decent slots, it gives you stamina surge 2 and 1 point of Guts. So if you want to play a more comfortable bow set, the Seedling legs are actually very decent, but we'll cover that in the endgame bow builds that I'm gonna post at the end of the week. Okay, so let's talk about Narakuga. Narakuga's armor set is actually insane for bow. I didn't expect that, but it's actually very, very strong. So let's talk about this. The Lucent Narakuga armor set has 2 new skills. The first one is called Sneak Attack, and the second one is called Adrenaline Rush. So we're gonna talk about Sneak Attack first. So Sneak Attack makes it so that when you are behind the monster, you're gonna deal increased damage. By the way, at level 3, the game says it's 12% attack power multiplier. It's wrong, it's a typo. It's actually 20%. So it's 5, 10, 20%. So just keep that in mind. So if you ask me, for bow, at least in solo, I don't think this skill is very good because you're gonna be in front of the monster the whole time. Now, there is an argument to be made that for multiplayer runs, especially scripted runs, it can be useful. However, since you kind of have to build around it and play with these skills, for casual play I wouldn't recommend it. But I mean, it has potential, so feel free to mess around with this skill. Now, the second skill that I'm mostly interested in is Adrenaline Rush. If you played World, this is very similar to the Evasion Mantle, in which when you do an iframe or a perfect evade, you're gonna get a damage boost. At level 2 it gives you plus 15 attack, and at level 3 it gives you plus 30. It's very easy to proc and it lasts for 30 seconds. The arms have 2 points and the arms are very good. It gives you 2 points of this skill, so it's 50 roll, and 3 points of evade window and good slots. So these arms you'll see a lot in speedruns and in meta builds. And a lot of people will like those arms because not only it gives you good damage, but it also gives you evade window 3, which is, you know, huge comfort skill. So this skill is insane. Now, I don't think we're gonna see level 3 for bow because the legs are very bad for bow. So you lose a lot of slots and a lot of skills just to get that 3rd point. So time will tell, but I don't think we'll use 3 points, just 2 with the arms, and that's it. Okay, now let's finally talk about Silver Rathalos armor set. Lots of people have been asking me about this, and so, to be fair, I've been very curious about it myself. So the Silver Rathalos armor has a new skill that's called Element Exploit, and is very similar to the Rampage decoration called Elem Bane. Basically, when the monster has at least 20 elemental hit zone, you're gonna proc this skill. And this skill is another 1-point wonder skill where the first point gives you most of the benefits. It gives you 10% more elemental damage when it procs. The second point gives you 12.5%, and the third point gives you 15%. So if you're gonna use this skill, I highly recommend that you just use 1 point. Now, I have an issue with this skill, is that it's only on the armor, there's no decoration. It's on the waist, the chest, and the arms. The waist and the arms have a lot of competition, so it's unlikely that we're gonna use those. The chest is very decent, but again, I don't know if it's gonna be worth it to be using it over something else. And mostly because there was a skill that was added in Sunbreak that's called Charge Master that does exactly the same thing. It increases your elemental damage by 5, 10, and 15% for 1, 2, and 3 points for every bow attack basically. And this skill now has a decoration and can drop on the new curio crafting system. So you don't have to wear a specific armor piece to get this skill. So on one hand, you have a skill that you have to wear an armor piece, the Elemental Exploit, and you have to have a hit zone that's weak to elements to proc. And on the other hand, you can have a skill that does the same damage, but you can use a decoration for it, or you can drop it on the Curio Augment. So I don't really see the benefit of, you know, having to wear this chest or over something else to get a skill that's similar in damage to something you can get for free on the Curio Crafting or the decoration. So I'm not completely ruling this skill out just yet. There's still a lot of testing that needs to be done. I think there's a chance that on some matchups it's gonna be used, but it's too early to tell. I have to do more testing. So for now, I don't think it's gonna be used a lot, but we'll see. That's it for the overview of the new skills. I'm still working very hard on the endgame meta builds, so these should be coming out pretty soon, I hope. I still need to do some more testing to be sure about what I'm saying. But for now, that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and if not, I'll see you in the next video. See ya!